I think it ends up being a big kind of political issue where it's like it would just be, you could get a lot more done if the government were helping American companies rather than kind of slowing you down at every step along the way. It makes you a little afraid that if you ever actually mess something up, that they're really going to bring the hammer down on you if you don't have a constructive relationship. But I don't know. It's mostly, I mean, going back to the AI conversation, it's like, I just think like we should all want the American companies to win at this, right? Yeah. It's like, this is like a huge geopolitical competition, and like China's running at it super hard, and like we should want the American companies and the American standard to win. And like, if there's going to be an open source model that everyone uses, like we should want it to be an American model, right? It's like there's this great Chinese model that just came out, this company DeepSeek. They're doing really good work. It's a very advanced model, and if you ask it for any negative opinions about Xi Jinping, it will not give you anything. If you ask it if Tiananmen Square happened, it will deny it, right? So I think that there are like all these things where we should want the American model to win, but like at every step along the way, if the government is sort of making that harder rather than easier, then that's, I don't know. I mean, there's an extent to which, okay, the American tech industry is leading, so maybe the government can like get in the way a little bit, and maybe the American industry will still lead, but I don't know. I think it's getting really competitive, and I think like it's easy for the government to take for granted that the U.S. will lead on all these things, when I think it's a very close competition, and we need the help, not, you know, we need them to not kind of like, you know, be a force that's helping us to do these things.
I completely agree, but I think that people with their own self-interest, when they're in power and they realize that these new technologies like Instagram and Facebook, that they are interfering with their ability to administer propaganda, or that their ability to control the narrative, that's where they get short-sighted. And that's when they act in their own personal interest and not in the interest of neither national security or the future of the United States in terms of our ability to stay technologically ahead.
Yeah, and some of this is just, you know, if you go back to the COVID example, I think in that case, they were doing something, their goal of trying to get everyone to get vaccinated was actually, I think, a good goal. Right, it's like it
was a good goal if it worked, if it was real, like if it was a sterilizing vaccine, if it really did prevent people from getting COVID, if it really did prevent people from infecting others or transmitting it, but it didn't. Well, so it wasn't a good deal because it wasn't based on real data.
Yeah, but also even if it were, right, it's like if I mean, I think that still on balance, knowing everything that we know now, I still think it's good for more people to get the vaccine, but the government still needs to play by the rules in terms of, you know, not like, you can't just suppress true things in order to make your case. So I that's kind of my view on it is I'm not sure in that case how much of it was like a personal political gain that they were going for. I think that they had a kind of goal that they thought was in the interests of the country, and the way they went about it, I think, violated the law.
Well, there's a bunch of problems with that, right? There's the emergency use authorization that they needed in order to get this pushed through, and you can't have that without valid therapeutics being available. And so they suppressed valid therapeutics. So they're suppressing real information that would lead to people being healthy and successful in defeating this disease. And they did that so that they could have this one solution. And this was Fauci's game plan. I mean, this is the movie American Buyers Club, or Dallas Buyers Club, rather. That's Fauci in that movie. That was with the AIDS crisis. This is the exact same game plan that was played out with the COVID vaccine. They pushed one solution, this only one, suppressed all therapeutics through propaganda, through suppressing monoclonal antibodies, like all of it. And that was done, in my opinion, for profit. And they did that because it was extremely profitable. The amount of money that was made was extraordinary during that time.
Yeah, but look, I mean, I feel like a bunch of the conversation is focused on tension with the American government. I guess just the point that I'd underscore is that it's important to have this working in the American government, because it is like the U.S. Constitution and like our culture here is really good compared to a lot of other places, right? So whatever issues we think might exist here, you go to other places and it's like really extreme.
Yeah.
And you don't even, and there it's like, you don't even necessarily have the rule of law.
Right.
Right. And so I just think that like the way that this stuff works well is, I think if there was a clearer strategy and the U.S. government understood, believe that it's good to kind of help advance this industry because it's strategically important for the country,